You know, it's crazy how much immigration law has to deal with, like, the whole world, right?
It really is.
I mean, you've got people coming in from every single country, and that means a ton of paperwork.
Yeah.
And I bet a lot of that stuff, it's, like in French or German
Oh, yeah, definitely.
or even Portuguese.
Right. Absolutely. We see it all the time.
It kind of makes me think of, the UEFA Champions League. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Their anthem, it's this super epic song, but they switch languages, like, throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, it's really
It's like it unites all the fans, right? But here's the thing. When it comes to USCIS, unless those documents are in English and officially translated, it's like they're speaking a different language altogether. You know what I mean?
That's such a good analogy. And it makes me think about what it's actually like for immigration professionals every day.
Yeah.
And it brings up a question we get all the time, and maybe you're thinking about it too. Like, do I really need to get every single thing translated by like an official translator?
I bet a lot of people wonder that, like, just to be on the safe side. So that's exactly what we're going to dig into today.
Yeah.
We really want to clarify the rules around when you absolutely need an official English translation for USCIS. And also, we want to explore some good strategies for handling all those documents in foreign languages. Because ultimately, like, understanding this stuff can save you so much time and money and can prevent a lot of headaches down the road, right?
Definitely.
Especially when it comes to those dreaded RFEs.
Oh, tell me about it. Those requests for evidence.
Yeah, those are basically like when USCIS says, hey, we need more information from you, and it can really throw a wrench in things.
Totally.
So to help us out today, we've been checking out this article that does a really nice job of breaking down this whole world of foreign document translation in immigration law. And it even gets into why it can actually be a smart move to outsource some of these tasks.
Yeah, it's super helpful.
So maybe we can jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
What does USCIS actually need when it comes to translations? Like, what's the deal?
So the general rule is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
If you have a document in a foreign language that's important to your case, you got to have a certified English translation. No two ways about it.
Gotcha. So no shortcuts there.
Nope.
But when you say material, what kinds of documents are we talking about here? Like, what's on the must-translate list for sure?
Okay, so think about those like essential documents that basically prove the main parts of your case.
Okay.
We're talking birth certificates, marriage certificates, any divorce decrees, the official records of like those big life events.
Right. These essential paperwork.
Exactly. And then there are educational records too.
Right.
Diplomas, degrees, transcripts, basically anything that officially proves someone's qualifications.
Okay.
And financial records are super important as well, especially bank statements and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Especially for those visa categories where you have to prove like how much money you have or how much you've invested.
Right. Makes sense.
And then, of course, you've got any government-issued certificates or licenses.
Yeah.
Those all need that certified translation without a doubt. These are the documents that really, help establish someone's identity, their relationships, and their qualifications, which are all key to pretty much every immigration application.
Right. Those are like the foundation of the whole case, right?
Exactly.
But I know the article also talked about a kind of gray area. So what about other documents that are like supporting evidence but aren't necessarily required?
Yeah.
Like training manuals or reference letters, things like that. Business documents, are those always a must translate?
That's where things get a little tricky, and it's important to be strategic. Those extra documents can really help your case, but they don't automatically mean you need a translation right away.
Okay, interesting. So tell me about this case from the article, the one about John Doe and the $2,000 translation that really caught my attention.
Oh, yeah, that's a great example.
What happened there?
So John Doe was applying for an EB-2 national interest waiver.
Oh, okay. So that's a special visa category for people with like exceptional abilities.
Exactly. And as part of his application, he had this big 95-page training manual in Portuguese.
Whoa, 95 pages?
Yeah. He wanted to use it to show how much he knew about his field.
Right, to back up his qualifications.
Exactly.
Okay. So did they like get the whole thing translated right off the bat?
Not at first, no. They were
Okay.
pretty smart about it. They created like a short 2-3 page summary in English, highlighting the most important parts of the manual and explaining how it was relevant to his field.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, the goal was to give USCIS what they needed without spending a fortune on translating the whole thing.
Smart. But I'm guessing USCIS wasn't totally on board with that plan, huh?
Nope, not quite. They ended up issuing an RFE, a request for evidence, And they specifically wanted a full certified translation of that entire 95-page manual.
Ouch. I bet that wasn't cheap.
Yeah, it would cost them like around $2,000.
Wow. That's a big chunk of change.
Exactly. And the article pointed out something really important. Even if they did spend all that money to translate everything, there's no guarantee the officer would actually read every single page.
Yeah, that's a gamble. So what did they end up doing?
This is where that strategic thinking really paid off. They thought about it carefully and realized that while that training manual was helpful, it wasn't absolutely crucial to the main arguments they were making for his EB2 NIW.
Okay.
So they made the tough decision not to translate the whole thing.
Wow, that's a risky move. What happened? Did it hurt their case?
Not at all. They actually got the case approved without the full translation.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they saved their client a ton of money and avoided any potential delays, which is awesome.
Yeah, because who wants to wait any longer than they have to, right?
Exactly.
I think that's such a good lesson for anyone who's dealing with foreign documents in immigration cases.
Absolutely.
You really have to think about what needs to be translated and what maybe doesn't, especially with those more complicated cases like the EB2, NIW, L1A, E2 visas, all those.
Definitely.
It's not just about saving money, it's about making things easier for yourself and not getting bogged down in unnecessary work.
Yeah, think about it this way. You're an immigration professional. Your time is valuable.
Exactly.
Do you really want to spend all day managing documents and chasing down translators?
Especially when there are people who specialize in that stuff, right?
Exactly.
And the article made a great point about that. It talked about how outsourcing can be a real lifesaver.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Think about it. How much time do you, or maybe your team, spend on like the nitty-gritty details of handling documents, finding translators, just all those administrative things,
Yeah.
instead of focusing on the actual legal strategy of the case,
It's a big problem for a lot of people.
I bet, especially for busy practices, those tasks can really take over.
Absolutely.
So where does outsourcing actually come in? Like what specific things can people outsource?
Well, the article talks about a few key areas. One is what they call immigration documentation outsourcing. That's basically getting someone else to handle finding those certified translators.
Okay.
That can free up a lot of your time right there.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially trying to find reliable translators for those less common languages.
Exactly. It can be a real pain. Another thing you can outsource is virtual paralegal services.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, they can help with a whole bunch of stuff like preparing case files, filling out forms, even legal research and talking to clients.
Wow, so it's like having an extra set of hands, right?
Exactly. And then there's also the option of having a remote legal receptionist.
Oh, so you never miss a call.
Exactly. They can answer calls 24/7, making sure you don't miss anything important.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And finally, there's something called immigration case management outsourcing. That's all about making your work flow more smoothly, keeping track of those deadlines, and staying organized.
Wow. So it's not just about translating documents, it's about offloading a whole bunch of tasks that take up your time and energy.
Exactly.
So outsourcing isn't about being lazy or taking shortcuts. It's about being smart and strategic with your time and resources.
Absolutely. And the article was really clear about that too. Outsourcing is not about cutting corners. It's about finding a better way to work, especially when you have a ton of cases or you're trying to grow your practice.
That's a really important point. I think some people have the wrong idea about outsourcing. It's about focusing on what you do best and letting other people handle the rest.
Totally. Now, the article also had a good reminder about specialized translations. We can't forget about that.
Right. So it's tempting to go with the cheapest option, especially after hearing that story about John Doe, right?
I know.
But you can't skimp on quality when it comes to those super important legal or technical documents.
Oh, definitely not. Those documents often have specific terms that only someone with expertise in that area would understand, both in the original language and in English.
So you're saying a regular translator might not cut it in those cases?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you've got documents in German or Portuguese, those languages can have all sorts of tricky scientific or legal terms.
Yeah.
You really need to find certified translators who know their stuff. The article suggested finding translation companies or certified professionals who have experience with legal and immigration stuff.
So it's all about finding the right people for the job. You want someone who knows the ins and outs of both languages and the subject matter.
Exactly. You don't want any misunderstandings or mistakes, especially with those critical documents. It's about focusing your energy on a legal strategy and letting the experts handle those specialized tasks.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've covered a lot today. What are the key takeaways we should remember about foreign document translations?
There are two main things to keep in mind. First, figure out which documents are absolutely essential and which ones are just helpful. Only get certified translations for the essential ones. That will save you money and prevent delays.
Okay, that makes sense.
And second, seriously think about outsourcing some of those tasks that take up your time. Whether it's translation services or other administrative stuff, it can free up your time so you can focus on the bigger picture.
So basically, work smarter, not harder, right? Especially when it comes to foreign documents and immigration law.
Exactly. Be strategic about those translations, find the right people to handle them, and you'll be much better off.
So the bottom line is you want to be the best advocate for your clients, right?
Yes.
And that means being smart about how you manage your time and resources. And sometimes that means letting go of some of those tasks and trusting the experts.
It really does. It makes me think, when it comes to your own work, how much time are you spending on administrative tasks versus the important strategic work?
That's a great question.
Yeah, could you be more efficient? Maybe try some of the things we talked about today, like outsourcing.
Something to think about for sure.
Absolutely.
It's all about finding that balance.
Yeah.